Friends, we are very happy to inform you that e-modules are prepared for B.Ed program at Telangana by the School of Education, Osmania University under Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme MHRD New Delhi. It's indeed our pleasure to share with the teacher educators and the prospective teachers and get maximum benefit out of it. It's a first of its attempt by us. We continue to add many more such lessons to share with you all.
Today we are going to look at revolutionary changes as functions of school. This is the fourth function we are looking at, and again, as a result of this presentation over the next 15 minutes, you will define, you will explain, summarize the functions, revolutionary functions of a school, and reflect also on how you can use them in your classroom. By the end of this module, including this presentation and the content, you will be able to engage in understanding revolutionary changes as functions, demonstrate competence, try to figure out in which context in the classroom you can use them, compare and contrast these functions with other functions we have studied so far, the conservative, progressive and natural functions, and articulate how these functions, revolutionary functions, are useful or harmful for the child. There's a revolutionary function called karere, and karere refers to lived experience. This is the word that gave rise to the word curriculum. This is the mother word, root word for curriculum, and it denotes lived experience. So curriculum is lived experience, it is not content. We typically tend to think that curriculum is content, but according to this revolutionary approach, curriculum is lived experience, an autobiographical method of thinking and being. And to apply this method, a teacher has to connect past, present and future. All the three connections have to be made for this model to work. And the theory base for Karere model is drawn from humanism, from experiential learning, from phenomenology, subjectivity, objectivity, how humans construct knowledge, and existentialism. And what kind of dialogue do human beings have with their situation. So this is like a mixture of all the other three we have learned so far. And this Karere model returns to the experience of the individual to include a person's idiosyncrasies, their typical behaviors, preconceptual foundations, their conditionings, and their choices, self-reflection, self-direction. And what Karere does is it reconstructs a pathway to present choice by digging back to identify the encounters that led to it. So it goes back to the past, comes to the present, and then goes into the future. So Maurice Merleau-Ponty was a phenomenologist in the existential paradigm who talked about how all our thoughts are projections. And we kind of see ourselves in others. So whatever we are seeing in others is actually our thought. Whatever we are feeling about others is actually our thought. So it kind of focuses on being awareness. So revolutionary changes, let us look at the functions of a school. There are three principles. The first principle is this approach enables the child to have a voice. It allows the child to kind of express themselves. It links learning in the classroom to their lived experience, just like in the progressive function. Then it strives to break barriers between schools and communities, just like the progressive function again. And it kind of builds spiral of learning across disciplines. It integrates all learning, cultures, languages, to kind of bring about an equality in society rather. And learning is facilitated by revisiting concepts at different times in different ways. So you teach the same thing again in many different ways. So if you were teaching food chains in June, you will visit food chains in August and September again, but not as a food chain. In some other model, you will kind of look at how to link the idea of food chain to mathematics or to language or to some other subject. So that if somebody did not understand the concept of food chain in science, they can understand it in maths or language or social studies. So all subjects including mathematics, combined science, social studies are taught in unique perspectives. Children are encouraged to express their thoughts, opinions through arts, performances apart from written work. So it's very holistic. It involves the whole body of the child in the process of learning. So reconceptualization is a revolutionary function of school. So what reconceptualization talks about, what it says is that you go from surface deeper into the subject. And this is what is revolutionary function. You don't just teach the child surface level information. You create an experience for the child so that the understanding becomes very deep. And it kind of talks about personal experience and practice and looping it with information gathering, documentation, then reflecting on it, then having some informed action about it. Then the cycle continues. The loop goes on and on and on and on. This is called revolutionary function. You reconceptualize curriculum, you reconceptualize teaching, you reconceptualize learning, you reconceptualize instruction and the learning environment. Now, public pedagogy is a revolutionary function of school also. The first revolutionary function we looked at was Carrere. The second one we looked at was spiral learning. The third one now we're looking at is public pedagogy. So what happens is that teacher enters public learning space and kind of engages children in public learning spaces. A very good example can be a tour, excursion, visit to a museum or a zoo or to a farm, or creating an art installation in a public space. So involving public spaces and public in teaching. Another function of revolutionary function of school is critical pedagogy. Now, critical pedagogy looks at social justice, at agency, at power and privilege. It talks about how there is inequality and how equality can be brought about. So it looks at reflective practice. It kind of engages the teacher as an adult learner. It involves the teacher in teaching. It brings social consciousness to the fore and engages the teacher in transformative learning and cultural literacy. It roots the teacher in understanding the culture of the school, the culture of the community. So the teacher may be able to bring about equalities wherever inequalities exist. Now, systems theory is another revolutionary function of school. According to general systems theory, it helps us think about how everybody can be included in learning, how we should not leave children behind, how different children learn differently, and how as teachers we have to kind of be able to catch up and facilitate learning in different approaches. A set of interrelated parts working together to achieve a common goal. So looking at the whole classroom like different parts, and everybody has to do their duty for the whole thing to work together. Now there are several merits and demerits. There are drastic shifts and changes in school process, and it requires push and momentum to get effective outcomes. The resources can be utilized towards improving processes because there's so much out of the box thinking, creative stuff that can happen, that outcomes can be phenomenal, learning outcomes can be phenomenal when you use revolutionary changes, provided when you understand when to use it. Parents, teachers, school, everybody becomes equal stakeholders, and because we're talking about equality, right? And then innovation in education and learning becomes beneficial for the whole community. The child is not limiting learning to the classroom. The child is taking the learning back into the society, bringing what they're learning outside into the classroom. They're learning with each other, for each other. Peer learning is happening. So a lot of possibilities are there. The disadvantages are that lack of know-how and complacency may create chaos. So if teachers are not properly trained in this method, it can create chaos. And revolutionary change requires an ability to unlearn and relearn at a fast pace, and this is a challenge. A lot of teachers cannot unlearn very fast because they're very rigid. They hold on to things very rigidly. There may be resistance from several or all quarters. Parents may not comply. School administration may not agree to certain things. Teachers themselves may not want to adopt new processes. So there are many hurdles in implementing this. The stakeholders involved have to have high levels of commitment to the revolutionary change and believe in its fruitfulness. This is absolutely true, that school administration, the teachers and the parents have to be on board together as one team and believe that all this is possible. Only then these functions of revolutionary changes and functions of school can be implemented. And here are some applications of progressive functions of schools in revolutionary changes. Progressive functions can be elaborated into revolutionary changes. They can be extended, they can be expanded into revolutionary changes, and as a result of this, it will boost academic outcomes. Like I mentioned earlier, children will create original work, creative work, and the learning outcomes will be fantastic. And when they take the learning back into their learning environments, their homes, their communities, it impacts their communities. And that in turn increases student and teacher engagement, because now they're connecting the classroom to the outside world. So that is, you're taking the progressive function and expanding it into a revolutionary function. Now, other applications of progressive functions of school also hold good for revolutionary functions. The local to global context, being learner centered, asking questions, inquiry based, interdisciplinary approach, like not separating subjects by disciplines but by teaching everything together, looking at the community as classroom, using principles like design thinking. So it's very forward thinking. And with that we kind of culminate the revolutionary changes of school.